Daniel, thanks so much for joining us and welcome to Nigeria.
Thank you.
Afreximbank Annual Meetings. Just give us a sense of the opportunity, which I'm sure you can see by just being here for Africa and the Caribbean to connect in a very productive way to drive greater trade.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Well, it's indeed a pleasure to be here. Look, outside of the obvious historical and cultural linkages that we share, there's substantial development need within the Caribbean. It is estimated that back in 2021, a report done by the Inter-American Development Bank, one of our sister multilaterals operating in the Caribbean, estimated that there's approximately US $19.6 billion infrastructure financing gap in 6 of our member countries. Now, the Caribbean Development Bank, we have 19 borrowing member countries. In only 6 of them, there's an almost $20 billion gap. So you can imagine how much it is across all 19 borrowing member countries. There is therefore an urgent need for development financing in the Caribbean. However, the challenge we face is that we are also one of the most vulnerable regions in the world. 7 of the top 10 most vulnerable countries in the world are in the Caribbean. Between 1951 and 2016, over 60% of natural hazards impacting small island developing states hit the Caribbean. So the challenge we face is that our governments are also significantly debt burdened rebuilding after disasters. There is therefore an urgent need for development financing in the Caribbean. Professor Orama, taking the initiative and the vision to look across the Atlantic and determine that Afreximbank will journey across the island and set up in the Caribbean and seek to support the development thrust of the region is therefore significant. There is no shortage, as I mentioned, of development need. And so there's opportunities for infrastructure, financing the infrastructure space. There's opportunities, of course, in trade, right? We have fabulously innovative entrepreneurs in the region, but we have a small market. The Caribbean is perhaps 15 million people, perhaps. Africa is a bit more in terms of the number of people, a bit more. So we have an opportunity to trade with the continent. And so I think this is an exciting time for our two regions.
And in terms of driving that connection, we do know that Grenada will be hosting the 4th edition of the Africa Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum.
Absolutely.
In just a few weeks from now.
Yeah.
In your view, what's been the value of that event? Beyond, of course, the great concerts and connections that we have.
Yeah.
Tell me more about why you think that is important.
Well, I'm gonna respond to that in a simple phrase: sphere of reference. What will happen at Active is that you will have producers, manufacturers, innovators, creators in the Caribbean coming together with their partners, creators, producers from Africa, but also financiers from both spaces in one space, as well as governments. So you have now an opportunity for people who are creating and producing things in the Caribbean to actually press the flesh, to meet persons who are leading in market development in Africa. So now, what does it take for me to get my product into Africa, into Nigeria, into Abuja, into Uganda, into Ghana? What does it take for me to get my product in there? No, you actually have a face and persons with the knowledge and expertise who can walk you through, both in terms of the private sector, in terms of government actors, but also in terms of multilaterals. Afrexim is putting on this event, who can walk our producers in the Caribbean onto what they need to do to be export ready for the largest growing market in the world. And if that isn't exciting, then I don't know what is.
The cultural exchange between the Caribbeans and Africa it seems to be like low-hanging fruit if we were going to really press on with driving Intra-Africa Caribbean trade. What are your thoughts about that? And what's
well? I am a huge cultural advocate for cultural exchange. I think we have, and by we, I mean Africa and the Caribbean together, we have a rich cultural heritage. And unfortunately, because of our shared histories, a lot of that knowledge hasn't been transferred across the Atlantic. A lot was lost in the Middle Passage. I think now is the moment where we reclaim it. I think this is an inflection point for us to reclaim it. I think what our future generations need to learn and to hear about is the rich cultural diversity that is Africa and that is the Caribbean. And so opportunities such as this, I mean, we have just here this very day, we have 3 of our prime ministers in the region here at AAM 2025. And more perhaps will be active in a month's time. So I think there is a bridge being built, and Afreximbank certainly is leading that charge. So you're right. Along with trade in products and services, there is also trade in culture, our music, right, our food, our spirits, you know, our theater, our performing arts. I think there's so much that will happen. I know later this month, in August, Carry Festa will be held in Barbados, and I know that there is intentions for groupings from Africa to perform there. You know, so this is an important moment for our 2 regions.
Right. Well, thank you so much for speaking to us, and hopefully the connections continue to grow.
Absolutely, Wally. Thank you. I think we owe it to future generations to chart a different path other than the one that was handed to us. And this moment is where I think that begins. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.